Hi guys, Andrew Davidson here. Welcome back to another As Per My Ability video. Today I was playing a game with a group of people. It was a game of Secret Hitler. And during the game, one of the individuals became quite animated. For those of you that don't know, Secret Hitler is a very heated social deduction game that kind of plays a lot like politics. It's a lot of hidden identities, who's good, who's bad, lying, bluffing to each other. And this person figured out the game. He swore he figured it out. He even wrote it down on a sheet of paper. He was so animated and so upset because nobody was listening to him. He got up at one point. He was standing up over the table, arms raised. He was banging on the table. Secret Hitler is very inspired by kind of politics, a lot of shouting back and forth. And he had realized, in his brain, this person's bad, this person's bad. And he became so animated, and he ended up losing the game. His team lost the game because at some point someone didn't listen to him. And you know what? He was right. He was absolutely right. And I talked with this individual afterwards and kind of gave him a little bit of a smile and patted him on the back saying, hey, it's Secret Hitler. We've all been there. He was really worked up and he was really hurt from a board game. So I sat with him for not too long, a couple of minutes, just saying, I've been there. Games get you angry sometimes. And I'm not talking about just angry like I didn't win angry. That's a completely different video. That's just about whether if you're a poor loser or not. That's not really what I'm talking about. I'm talking about this anger, these emotions that we have where we get so animated because someone in the game, some other player, has hurt you and you feel hurt. In this particular example, with Secret Hitler, no one was listening to this individual. He was trying to run the table. He was being so loud that he actually kind of ended up hurting himself because people were like, well, we don't trust you because you're just too adamant about things. You're trying to run the table, as they would say. He had it absolutely right, but nobody trusted him. And that frustrated him, and it hurt him. And so I was thinking about it, and I was talking with another friend of mine, coworker, about games, and of course, the number one that comes up from everyone's childhood, at least if you are on the a little bit older side to remember, Monopoly. Now I know they still play Monopoly, they still make Monopoly, but when I was a kid, and a lot of other people can attest to this, Monopoly really upset people. They actually have memes and things online about Monopoly ruins friendships. Oh, my last wife and I got divorced over a game of Monopoly. Hardy har har, LOL. Monopoly is ruining people's lives and their relationships. It's getting people so angry and so upset. Another one that's a guilty party, I guess I could throw out there, would be a game called Risk, where you work and you work to build your forces only to roll dice and just see everything crumble, that your friend comes around the back door and comes up through some country. And just, I've seen that. I've seen games of Monopoly when I was a kid where people threw things across the table, or across the room, I mean. I've actually recently, within the past couple of years, seen some Risk games where people got up crying. They were upset. They were angry. Games become these emotional catalysts for people. It's not about, and I'm repeating myself. I'm not talking about just winning and losing, but about just being so passionate and so into the game, or being betrayed like this gentleman felt at the Secret Hitler. He was betrayed, like nobody was listening to him. And so there are these games in our past or in our current situation, games like Monopoly and games like Risk, other take that sort of games, take that games are pretty popular amongst, hurting someone feeling upset, someone being like, I was going to do this, but nope, I played this card and we skip you, or we skip your turn or something. And someone gets upset. Why? Because they had so much expectation. This gentleman tonight had so much expectation about, I have this thing figured out. Now, it just so happens he was right. But if he was right or wrong, it didn't do him any service. He was so passionate about getting everyone on the same page that we need to just not listen to this person, and not listen to this person's full of lies and they're going to lie to you, and we need to just stick to this group and blah, 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 blah. And so I'm just starting to think about, like, what are some games out there for you that have been inspiring these moments, I guess, with you, a family member, games where people get so adamant about this one game. Why is it? Because, again, when we talk about sore losers, we can talk about anything. We can talk about anything from Machikoro to playing a game of soccer on a soccer field. But why specific games? Why Secret Hitler? Why Monopoly? Why are people so dang pissed off all the time in Monopoly? Or Risk? Why these games? And I'm sure there's some others I'm blanking on. Like I said, Take That games are always big proponents for, haha, take that. You think you're going to do something, but I counter that. So why these games? What is it about a game that makes it more explosive? Is it the theme? Is it the winning payoff? Not necessarily, because if you win a game or lose a game, it's not like you have any money on it, or at least I don't know of people that are betting on who wins a game or not. That certainly would be a reason for someone to become so adamant and emotional and visceral about, listen to me, or upset because, I'm bankrupt, or you destroyed my entire army. We had $100 on this game, now I'm out money. Oh, that could be a reason. That could be a reason why someone. But most of the time, I don't think people are placing $100 on a game of Monopoly or Risk or whatever, any other game. So what is it about these certain games? It's kind of more of just a question. I don't have an answer, especially with Monopoly. Risk, you could probably corner me into having some sort of an answer because you're really, producing a lot of things and it takes a lot of time and you have a lot of anticipation of what you're going to do with those things. Monopoly, you could maybe make the same case. Maybe yes, maybe no. And so these are things I just kind of want you to think about. When we talk about games, we can talk about certain games that are really high, passionate games that are just like, man, don't play these games with people that get too far. They take things too far. And so I usually like to show off of a game in my videos, and I'm going to wrap it up by showing off a game. So the conversation is games that have ruined relationships, games that have really, I don't want to say hurt people, but caused an emotional response that was like way beyond like the fact that, hey, it's just a game. And so the game that I'm going to talk about for the last 2 or 3 minutes of this video is a game. It's an old game. This is a kind of newer printing. It's a game by Avalon Hill called Diplomacy. Now, Diplomacy is a game that is really on the spectrum of ruining relationships or causing divorces. Diplomacy is a game that is a World War I game. It plays up to 7 players, or you could have players in teams if you have like a large group, like in a classroom. I've seen this used in a history class before, or at least I've heard of it. I have not actually seen it, but I've heard of diplomacy being used in a history course. And in Diplomacy, you are taking on the 7 different powers in Asia and Russia, and Europe, but leading into World War I, trying to expand your powers, take over some lands, things like that. But the game has been you Google it. It's got kind of a buzz for people really being upset, flipping the table, because in diplomacy, it's exactly that. You lay your tiles down, you have your factions, you have your armies. I'm Italy, you're France, you're Russia, you're England. And you build these things up, and then you can move them out and you give them secret orders that you can talk about with your friends. Say, hey, I'm not going to move into Czechoslovakia. I'm going to just stay out of that my turn. And you write down these secret orders. Or, hey, Bob, you and me should team up against Bill, because if we both move in here and here, we could, take him out, or we could take some land from him. And so you start getting this, making alliances, breaking alliances. But the game diplomacy really, really shines when people say, I am not going to invade Czechoslovakia, and now I'm going to invade it. Sorry. Because that's the way that the game is really structured, is that you make alliances and then you break them the next turn. Or you bluff to someone saying, I'm not going to do that this turn, and then you kind of do something else to kind of backstab them. There's a lot of backstabbing in the game. And so diplomacy is one that people don't really talk about. There's not a lot of memes online. Monopoly, Risk, like I said, are games that people just are, it's notorious. They're kind of known within our cultural zeitgeist of like Monopoly ruins friendships and things like that. But diplomacy is another game. It is a very long game. I'm going to hold it up again by Avalon Hill. This is a newer printing. This game has been around for a long time. That is also a game that's quite heated, gets people quite heated, I should say, and upset. So maybe the answer to the question that I'm asking is, if there's a level of payoff, if there's an expectation of payoff that is a reversal of expectation, which means it doesn't go the way that you want it. It doesn't happen the way that you wanted it to happen. Things don't progress the way that you were planning in your head to progress. Maybe that's the kind of game that really sets people up for these kind of emotional outbreaks, yelling, upset, curse. You swore that you wouldn't invade Czechoslovakia, and now here you are invading Czechoslovakia, you son of a bitch. I don't know. I don't really have an answer. It's just a broad topic that I wanted to talk about. What kind of games are your heated games? Or what kind of games have you seen that provide these heated moments of people being upset? And it's not just about winning or losing. It's just about, like, the game. The game just makes people upset. So diplomacy's one. Monopoly's one. Risk is probably one. Are there any others out there? I'd like to know. So let me know. Make a comment. And also, as you go about your day, think about these things. Think about the good things that you can take from games. Think about the good times. Think about, yeah, there's those heated moments, but I know how to deal with them more effectively. I don't allow myself to get upset. And how do you use those tools? How do these games give us emotional opportunities to go, next turn. Thanks for watching. And as always, I will see you all at the next video.